So one night I'm watching television and I come across an infomercial that's always pushing you to buy something. And so this particular commercial or infomercial was covering different appliances and things that help to ease the use in the kitchen. So looking at that, it made me think about blenders, it made me think about juicers, and what are the applicable uses for it. I believe that blenders are more efficient than juicers. And so in this speech, that's what I will be covering. I'll be covering why I believe that a blender is better than a juicer. The beginning of the blender was in 1919 by the owner of the Stevens Electric Company. And he was on contract to create a drink system that would allow them to make a drink for another company. And so in that regard, he created a liquefied blender, and it was the first blender to make liquid. From there, he was able to patent that blender to where it could use different things. And at the time, the small motor was just created. And so everyone was trying to find a useful place to use these small motors. And so with the appliance of the blender, they were able to use that small motor. They used stainless steel blades in the bottom, and they were able to cut, grind, chop different things with it, and it did not always have to become a liquid item in the end. So from there, other competitors got in and started to create blenders of their own type, always mixing, trying to make it better than the original. In the end, we came with one standard, and that was developed by a guy by the name of Fred Waring. And the great thing about Fred Waring is that he set this standard that now all the other blenders had to kind of compromise with or agree with, because it just made things easier. So we've seen blenders now for almost 100 years being used in our homes, and it's made it so easier for moms with all of the responsibilities that they have, even for some dads who cook, that they're able to make a meal with such ease and such basically such ease to allow them to be able to be there for their families in different ways. And so when I see the blender, I think that it's best because it can handle dry foods, wet foods. You can make soups with it. It's something that I found out. They make fondues with it. It's even able to knead dough. And that's a huge benefit to having a blender in your home. So why is it compared to a juicer? It is because it also makes juice. And in today's market, juices have really exploded. And it all started with Norman Walker, and he was from 1936, and he actually was the first one to come up with juicing a vegetable or a fruit to get the juice out in order to drink it instead of eating it. That was a new idea, but he was very health conscious, and he felt it was better for his body to process it than by eating. So with that, we get the Norwalk juicer, which is the first juicer that was ever used, and it just exploded from there. But there have been some great iconic people that have contributed to the success of the juicer. The first person that I can think of is Jack LaLanne. Jack LaLanne was a fitness guru, and he is still selling these juices today, and that pushed it. But then recently there was a movie by the name of Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. It was a documentary about this guy by the name of Jim Cross. Jim Cross lost 100 pounds juicing. He was able to get off all of his medication. He's found a new sense of life, and that's the beauty of the juicer. People have found that they're able to beat serious terminal illnesses, and they're able to do all of these things from juicing. So people really push to do juicing. But I find that it's very limited because you can only have juice. And if that's the only thing that you're going to live off of, well, for many families, that's not as frugal or applicable to their situation. Beyond that, you have cost. The cost for a blender you can get in a store today, I said Good Friday, it was $20. They have the higher end blenders, the Ninja, that's now on sale for $99. But compare that to a juicer, the average cost for a juicer on the cheap end is $40. But it can go as high as $500 just for a blender. For a juicer, and that's really expensive when you're managing a family. And so in that regard, I think that that's another reason why the blender is such a better choice over the juicer. The other side of that is that we've had the blender a little longer, of course, 1919 versus 1936. And as well, the sales of the blender have now exceeded 491 million in a year compared to a juicer at 215 million. The statistics just show that the blender has more applicability in the home for a family than a juicer. You find that celebrities are definitely into juicing. It's a health thing, you know, and I think that the blender can do the same thing. It's just that when it comes to what we need and how we can best help our families, the blender can do the chopping, it can do soups, it can do so many different things compared to what we see today with the juicers. So in that thought, when it's your time to consider how you want to best help your family, you know, you may have the staple of the toaster, the coffee maker. Consider the blender, because the blender has so many uses outside of just juicing. Even if that's your choice, I want to be better, I want to live healthier, and make a lot of different things at home, the blender can definitely meet your needs on so many other levels. And yes, they do have some compromised juicer blender models. I still lean towards the blender. Thank you.